Healthy Rebel Radio is sponsored by the Healthy Rebel app. 300 plus secretly healthy, delicious, mouth-watering dessert and treat recipes made with all-natural, whole food ingredients. Now available for download on the App Store and Google Play. Find out more details at healthyrebel.com.
Welcome to Healthy Rebel Radio. I'm your host, Dr. David Geiser. I'm here with my Dami Health Healthy Rebel co-founder, Amy Lane. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Just a few health and wellness stories to go through today. We've been talking a lot about packaged foods lately, and we were discussing a PETA story yesterday about phthalates in potentially in chicken affecting the penis size of an unborn fetus was their title. But phthalates are in the news again today. A study came out first thing this morning, in the media anyhow, about fast food. And what they were looking at was, of the people who ate fast food compared to people who didn't eat fast food, who has higher phthalate levels. And of course, the phthalates were higher by 40% in those who ate the most fast food, which is significant because they're hormone disruptors. And we're wondering why people are suffering from so many different hormone changes that are affecting our health. Phthalates are found, they're industrial chemicals, and they're found in food packaging materials, they're found in tubing for dairy products, other areas of the kitchen, basically in fast food production. But, most, in processed foods, there's going to be potential for phthalates to be in the food all the time. It's shocking, and it doesn't seem like any level is safe. So we have to just keep on top of it. But it's like you've been saying. We want to stay away from processed food as much as we can, and fast food, of course, would be in that category.
I think it's an easy one to avoid, to tell you the truth. It's just unnecessary in life. It is.
Convenient.
There's other forms of convenience.
Yeah, like what would we use in that sort of situation? I know what I used to do as a 18 to 20 year old would be the McChicken wraps, or what were they called?
I couldn't tell you.
Chicken snack wraps or something like that. If I was really hungry and needed something.
Right, but the fact is that if there's a fast food, there's a grocery store, and if there's a grocery store, then there's healthy options.
Right. Well, that's what we figured out, and it's like we were talking about the other day with the grocery store options we have in our neighborhood. It's very easy to make the adjustments.
Right, but we've done all of America, and the whole way across America, I was able to find hummus, fresh vegetables, and fresh food.
It's true, which is like an instant snack.
It was easy.
Yeah,
and we were in the middle of nowhere many times. So,
Oh, exactly. And I've done nuts and seeds and found something that, like, if you're extremely hungry, to consume right away.
Lots of options.
There's always a piece of fruit.
Always. You can always grab bananas.
Definitely. The main thing I want to talk about today is nutrient depletions and nutrient deficiencies. We've talked a bit about vitamin D on the show a couple times. And of course, we've talked about B vitamins multiple times, but I wanted to go through the things that I see the most in clinical practice that have the most significant effect on people's energy and mood. And you can speak to some of this because you've been in a place where B12 has been low. And, what is that like for you when you recognize B12 going low? Amy's a vegan, for everyone who doesn't know. And we only get B12 from meat.
But that's not necessarily why my B12 storages are low. There are lots of vegans that don't need to supplement B12. It's a misconception. There are just as many meat eaters as there are vegans that are B12 deficient.
Yeah, I saw that study as well. That was back in the day when we were looking at, prior to March, when we were looking at blood levels.
Right.
But yes, you're right. That did come out. Meat eaters and vegans had the same levels.
Yeah, so that I don't want to say this is because of my vegan diet. I don't think it is. I think it's an absorption thing for me. And I think it always has been, but I was unaware of it.
Right.
So now I start to realize it's a creepy, crawly anxiety that comes up at the exact same time as just it feels kind of like I'm walking through mud. So it's not that my energy, it's hard to explain because it's not like I'm lethargic. It's like everything is harder and mentally I can't handle things like I normally do. And there's this creepy crawly energy comes up for me that where things that normally wouldn't trigger me or bother me, I seem to obsess over them and ruminate more. And that's usually when I'm like, oh wait, I didn't really have things, normal tasks today were really taxing. People are really bothering me today. I'm obsessing about this one thing this person said. I would be able to just walk away from this. When's the last time I had my B12 shot? And I'll go back, and 99.9% of the time, that's the case.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and then you feel pretty good right away.
I feel great instantly.
Yeah.
I have a increased, it's not, like, it's hard to explain because if you're someone that, drinks coffee or has stimulants, the energy increase isn't the same as that.
No, it's not that feeling of go, go, go. It's
not like you get it and you're like, wah! Like,
yeah.
It's not that for me. It's life is easier, so the energy seems to come up. But I don't know if it's so much my energy comes up or if just my coping mechanisms stabilize again.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's just as mental as it is physical. And I would tend to think it's more mental. And then the mental exhaustion causes my physical kind of cloudiness. Exactly. And I'm also cloudy.
Right.
I can't concentrate as well. And I find I'm just not as optimal.
Right.
And it's something that when I wasn't aware of it, I would have just thought that's who I was. I wouldn't have known the other side of the clarity, the stable energy, the, anxiety.
Yeah, this is who I am. This is what I'm like. I'm just a tired, anxious person.
Yeah. That's basically what I thought. I mean, my life is hard, so, this is obviously how I feel. This is the result of it kind of deal. And that's how I felt for years until I realized that I was low in B vitamins.
Well, we know that B12 is used to make neurotransmitters, so it goes right along with what you're saying. That feeling of being able to cope better. Potentially you have more serotonin in the brain where you can have a more stable mood and be able to withstand things.
That's my truth. This is my actual experience. So.
Oh, and I've seen it so many times in patients as well.
Right.
It's so common, and it's interesting the way you describe the level of mental fatigue with B12 deficiency, because it feels a little different than being iron deficient.
Oh, definitely.
Iron deficient is more on the side of the lethargy, like you said B12 wasn't.
No. B12, iron deficiency, and I've been iron deficient as well. Remember, I went through very, I don't know how to describe it, but definitely a disordered pattern of eating. So I would go through major starvation modes with then like binging on junk, so just starved of all nutrients, but then also married with fat burners and all this other junk. I was just depleting. So I was depleted in all basic nutrients, yet heavier than I've ever been. So I've had a lot of experience with being deficient in different areas, and for me, iron deficiency was just an unbelievable fatigue.
Yeah, straight, I can't move.
Going through life with quicksand. It's exhausting and a headache, and you just don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, and different than the mental quicksand, different than not being able to cope with things like stress and different,
And for me, I have low blood pressure. So when I had low iron, my blood pressure would go even lower, and when I would literally just sit up, I would black out. Like, I would not physically fall, but I would see stars. It would be black, and I'd just stand there and wait until my and my vision came back. Like, that's not a normal way to live.
No.
But I thought that was normal. That was my normal. Oh, I just have low blood pressure.
Right. Yeah, this is who I am.
This is just who I am.
And this is so common. Like, people come in and say, "Oh no, I'm just tired all the time. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here because I have this condition."
Yeah.
Or I'm here because
See, and that's where I was for a decade at least. It's because I can't lose weight that I would come to see you, not because of the reality of what I was doing behind the scenes. Because I wasn't ready to be accountable, and I wasn't ready to look at what was going on. And when you're in a real mess, like I was. You don't realize, like, I'm low in energy or I'm anxious. Those are all just who you are. You don't know the difference of feeling good. So you need someone like you to look at the situation and say, this isn't optimal. This could be better. And then when you actually get healthy and get energy and feel better, that's the only time you can have perspective on how crappy you felt before. That's something I've learned in life. You can't have full perspective. Because like I said, I would have come to you back then saying, I do everything. I barely eat. I exercise non-stop. I take fat burners and I still can't lose weight. I'm still, 30 pounds heavier. What,
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have even recognized all the hormonal things, the mental things, and the torture I was putting myself through. And I probably wouldn't have told you about the other things I was doing. Fat burners, laxatives, all that stuff. I would never have said it.
Right, so we wouldn't even really know exactly where to start with what depletions are happening.
And it would start from that I didn't know what feeling good meant. Because feeling good to me was when I get to that size whatever. When I lose this 30 pounds, then I'm going to feel good. I'm going to feel beautiful. I'm going to feel great. That's when as soon as I get to that point, my life is going to be perfect. And that's really the psychology that I had.
Yeah.
And I see it in other people.
Well, and we see that psychology in so many different areas of life, not just in health. I mean, it's helpful to talk about this because it helps you reflect on what's happening in the current moment. But you shared something on Facebook the other day that was saying if you're always thinking about what's next, how next will be better, how the next job, how the next relationship, how that will be better than your current situation, you'll never be happy because you'll always be in that pattern of thinking what's next.
Chasing.
And it's the same thing with health, like you said, when your goal is to lose weight.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine. It's a great goal, but it can distract from what's actually happening in the moment, and that can potentially be something serious.
That's why I always say health is our, radiant health, vibrant energy, and feeling delicious in our body is the first goal. The side goal, the side effect that will happen anyway, is weight loss. So you can come through the door of, I want to lose weight, but then I set but this is what we're really doing. And the beautiful side effect is going to be that you're going to lose the body fat that your body doesn't want to hang on to.
Yeah.
And then you're going to rest at a body weight that your body feels is right for you. You surrender to that. And at first, that kind of psychology would have been like for me, why would I end up at a good body size? I've never had it. Like the whole idea of surrender meant like something bad was going to happen. I didn't realize that nature has our best interest at heart. Life is always working for us. We're the ones working against it. And when we relax and trust and stop messing it up, better than we even expected will take place. Right? So
that's a really important lesson that you taught me. I mean, changing your ideals of what the word surrender means, of what it means to trust in actual life, and to just ignore these negative thought patterns that you've been having because they're not supporting your higher good.
Expecting good instead of bad.
I love how we can get here just talking about nutrient depletion.
Well, it's
so funny.
It's like trying to talk about life without speaking about oxygen. It's just, it doesn't exist. Yeah. And until you get to those heavier, deeper rooted grounding principles, I don't think that you can have long-term success. I think you're on the hamster wheel of chasing a physical thing that doesn't have roots. And if it doesn't have roots, it won't last.
No, it's true. And speaking of this hamster wheel idea and things not lasting, when you're go, when you're fight or flight, when you're striving and not really thinking about your highest good or letting the good happen, and stress comes into the picture and cortisol rises because you're putting so much pressure on yourself and it's negative. Eventually the adrenal glands will not be supportive of what you're currently doing because you haven't rested them and allowed them to heal. And magnesium will be depleted. And I mean, we've seen that. I see that in my practice all the time. And you've seen that one personally as well. It's interesting. You've been through so many different things.
Well, because I pushed it. I pushed it past the point because I thought that I would just always have a body. I would always be physically, I was young. I thought I could just basically torture myself and it would still be okay. And it's not. You let all these things go and you torture yourself for long enough, your body says, okay, I surrender. Like, I can't do this. But thank God my adrenal fatigue happened instead of a manifestation of something like a cancer.
Yeah, something serious.
Like, that's how I look at it. Like, I look at, like adrenal fatigue was really horrible for me. It was a horrible experience. But I'm so grateful because I feel like my body was like, here's your big warning sign before the next one where we drop the brick on your head. Here's your, like, because I was healthy when I got adrenal fatigue, quote unquote healthy, but I adjusted my workouts, I adjusted my eating, but I was still killing myself to get to a goal. I was living for, when I get to this certain place, then everything's going to fall into place, and I'm going to kill myself till I get there.
And if we had have run labs for you at the time, everything would have been absolutely fine. And it was, I can't get out of bed. I can't function in my day-to-day life, but I'm not sick. There's nothing wrong with me. And, if anyone is saying to you, okay, adrenal fatigue's not real, and you're these cortisol changes throughout the course of the day, or burning out of the ability to make cortisol is not real, check in with someone with chronic fatigue syndrome. Check in with someone who has pushed into business or pushed their body past that limit, like yourself. This is very real.
Oh, it's very real. And then the healing process is very real.
The healing process is very real, and it's very effective.
It works. You have to go all in.
The patience that you need.
You can't dance around it either. You have to surrender to the whole thing, because that's the only way.
Okay, so symptoms we've seen with magnesium deficiency: leg twitching, muscle cramping, and your core symptom really has been tension, headaches, neck tension.
Yeah, my traps up to the top of the front of my head, the whole way up, the muscles all just tighten, and I become in severe pain. It got to the point a couple times that I was in such severe pain that I was vomiting.
You would vomit in the middle of the night.
Yeah, and sometimes during the day. If I, on top of this magnesium, even if I went and had a tea, and I wasn't correlating it, I would, the caffeine would flush out whatever magnesium I had left, and then all of a sudden, I would these headaches would come on so strong that I would vomit. It was so painful. At one time, I thought I must have been having a stroke or something. Remember, I was like right on the edge, and I'm not a hospital person.
No.
And I was right on the edge of having to go to the emergency room.
Really scary type things.
Very scary. Sensitivity to light, like a migraine, but different.
And of course, if these things are happening to you, we recommend seeing a physician, naturopathic or MD. Either way, you need to be checked out. But what was it like when you had magnesium glycinate for the first time?
It was like, what I would imagine, I've never had one, but like what being given like a sedative is like. My whole physical body and brain relaxed. And I was like, oh. Felt like a wash of calm.
Right.
I remember the first time I went with you while you were learning how to do Myers cocktail IVs. And everyone was saying, you're going to love it. You get so much energy from these vitamins. Like, it's so, you're going to run out of here when you're done, whatever. And my reaction was the exact opposite. I was, sitting there in a coma. And you're like, are you okay? And I'm like, I've just never been this relaxed.
Oh, and I see this so frequently. The magnesium stores just get topped up right away.
The magnesium is what I needed. So I was just, floating on a cloud. I hadn't felt that relaxed in so long. And that's when we realized, oh, wow, this is serious.
Yes. Yeah, and if you respond that quickly to magnesium, you're right. You found it. That was the goal there.
Yeah.
Or you hit the mark with what you needed. In these situations, I recommend magnesium glycinate. But it's interesting we talk about these because these minerals they compete for absorption. There's a reason why you have to take iron by itself when you have low ferritin or if you're anemic. The three most common ones that we have to watch out for, of course, iron and magnesium, but also zinc. This isn't one that really you have dealt with a lot, but I see it quite a lot in my practice. People have really weak nails, rigid nails, lines on their nails, weak hair falling out, skin disruption. So whether it be rashes or acne or a whole host of things. And zinc ends up being the problem. And that can be also a core issue in hormone, low hormone levels, is zinc levels. So zinc is the other one to watch out for. They're all competing a bit for absorption, but it's really the iron that we focus on the most because it's the easiest one to test. We don't do a lot of magnesium or zinc testing, although they can be done in certain different ways, but the reliability of the iron test is so efficient. We can see what your iron stores are very simply. So we focus on that a lot because it's so common. But yeah, zinc. your zinc levels have probably been just sustained while these other minerals suffered.
Yeah, I've never.
Everyone's a little different.
Had concern about it.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I will say about magnesium is, for me, if I take it before bed, especially when I was going through all this, when I took it before bed, I had the best sleeps.
Yeah, it really improved your sleep, and I see that a lot. Especially people who are suffering from, who have good posture and are sleeping with good posture. They're doing everything right, but for some reason the traps won't release. The legs are twitching throughout the course of the night. There's a nervous system upregulation of some sort happening, and we have success with magnesium, so why not?
Yeah, I love it.
So why not? Exactly. Yeah. The last couple things, we talked about vitamin D a lot. I mean, it's a really easy one to talk about in terms of deficiency, and it's also a really easy one to test. So if you want to hear about vitamin D, you can go back and listen to our old episodes because we've got so much good information about it. One thing I want to mention is that vitamin D is really helpful in making serotonin, the positive mood neurotransmitter that you need to feel good, the one that is involved with antidepressants, the one that's trying to keep higher. Vitamin D is essential for making it. So that's one of the core reasons we believe around seasonal affective disorder, why it's so prevalent. Serotonin levels potentially are being reduced when there's lack of sunshine. Anyhow. Finally, I want to finish today with antidepressant medications. And we've talked a lot about it on the show, how when we believe that if antidepressants are working for you, that's absolutely excellent. If something's working for you and you're not experiencing any side effects, that's great. If it's raising your mood, that's fine. But in terms of depletions, there is some reports out there that antidepressants, specifically SSRIs, are depleting certain vitamins. Mostly on the B vitamin side. We have concerns about B12 levels, B6 levels, B9 levels, and finally a nutrient called CoQ10, which is involved in cellular metabolism, energy for the cell. But for people who are on antidepressants, I often have them doing extra B vitamins just to make sure those levels are high because they're keeping serotonin around longer in the brain, and potentially there is a case for the ability of the nerve cells to make serotonin being reduced. So what you want to do is support those levels with B vitamins to make sure it has the resources it needs to continue to make proper levels of serotonin. So not only are you keeping it around longer, but when you need to make more, you have the resources to do it. So B vitamin depletions are quite common in that, and we'll see people who feel like their mood is better, but all of a sudden maybe their anxiety is up a bit, or they're not handling things well, they're not sleeping, they're not making melatonin as efficiently. There are some reports that potentially SSRIs can deplete melatonin. So we have to watch for those things.
Right.
So just, consult with someone about it if you're taking one of these medications. You want to do optimal health. B vitamins are so important. They're water soluble. If you don't need them, you'll pee them out. In terms of B6 and B9, you have been taking these ones orally. They're a little easier to absorb than the B12. And so we don't really do those injections for you. We just do the B12 injections. You take a B6, a B9, a multi-B complex. Yeah. And that seems to do the trick for you. It's a little easier to absorb. And you just sort of take one in the morning.
I take one every morning.
Yeah.
I just do it.
You just do it.
And when we had my levels checked, they were awesome. So apparently it is absorbing. Yeah,
for sure. Well, that's all I really wanted to go through. We talked about today magnesium, iron, vitamin D, zinc, B12. The B12 being highest on the list for people who are suffering from anxiety, really, or inability to cope is what you explained it. It's not really a lethargy like iron deficiency, but it's more of a...
And it's not life or death either. It's a slow burn. No, is what I'm trying to explain. It's something that creeps up, and that it still this far into it, sometimes I don't recognize it. Right. And I've asked you for help to recognize it. Like if I'm ruminating over something and you don't think it's within my normal character, if we could just acknowledge maybe that I need my B12 shot. If we could look up. So it's more of a slow burn. Yeah. It's a slow burn. It's not like a tragedy situation.
No, exactly. And it's a difficult one to absorb. We've talked about this a few times, and this has been what you mentioned about absorption, because you have never been a big meat eater.
Never in my life.
In order to absorb B12, you need to eat meat, release stomach acid, breaks down the proteins, releases intrinsic factor with it. Intrinsic factor takes B12 to the small intestine, where if there's no inflammation and no major problems happening in the small intestine, it can be absorbed. Then it gets to the blood, and then for people who are good methyl donors, that it can be taken to where it needs to be taken to, which is not everyone. We know that B12 levels in the blood now don't reflect B12 levels in the brain. So there's things to be considered on that issue as well.
Right.
Anyhow, that's it. Nutrient depletions, keep them in mind if you're suffering from mood changes or low energy or anything like that, stress.
It's an easy thing to...
Oh, so effective. So effective. That's Healthy Rebel Radio for today. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you, Amy, for sharing your stories.
See you.
Healthy Rebel Radio is presented by the online health and wellness center, DamiHealth.com. Since 2009, Amy Lane has successfully coached thousands of women through her signature program, the Bikini Body Program. Join today to work exclusively with Amy to unveil your greatest yet to be from the inside out. Go to DamiHealth.com for more information.
Thank you for listening to Healthy Rebel Radio. Please connect with us on our community pages on Facebook, Pinterest, and Instagram, all at the handle @DamiHealth. For weekly recipes, articles, and all our episodes straight to your inbox, join our newsletter at DamiHealth.com. You can find all the links discussed in today's episode in the show notes. Thank you for joining us, and see you tomorrow.